I know me and Mo have had this conversation already. Maybe not more how has it served us, but more on
Just the functionality of
the
it.
functionality of it, and why should black people vote? I think that was the question before. But we're going to talk about politics in general. So this is not only the voting system, but the characters that we see as leaders, the people that we believe are going to change our countries. How has it worked? You can build a timeline if you want from, say...
So when you say our countries, are you talking about UK?
UK. We could talk about Africa as well. We could talk about America, because I feel like with black people, we're all over the world. We're diasporans, and again, especially us three, we're all from native African countries. So, but yeah, politics or politics, as the Nation of Islam like to say, or like Dr. Wesley Muhammad and Rizza Islam, politics and democrats and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I feel like politics for me hasn't served us in the slightest, because from what I can see from results, again, I'm not a politician, I'm not an MP, but I feel like there's been a lot of theatrics. There's been a lot of promises. It's actually encouraged the nature of selling more hope. Again, like religion, that's why I put the two together. But it's encouraged this attitude of voting is going to be the answer, or this one man. You see where we're going with this? Just one man is coming to save mankind, and you've got another one man or one woman who's going to come and save you on earth and your problems. This one man concept it's not real. It's not realistic when you're actually growing up as a family or a household that always works together as a team. Do you see where I'm coming from? So personally right now, especially with America's politics, like, I'm not a Trump supporter, but Trump has done more, I personally feel, for black people than Obama ever had. And I feel like with Obama...
Have you been listening to Candice Owens, yeah?
Not even. I mean, you know what? As much as my girl, sometimes she frustrates me to a point where I get so angry, but you know what? I have to really... the last few months, I've been really open to the opposition's view. Because at the end of the day, in order for us to grow, we're going to need somebody like that to show us either what not to be, or someone that's on their side that can also... Because I think, there was a very, very good interview on the Breakfast Club with one black lady. I need to remember her name. Still. Let me see if I can get her name. But anyway, she was... I'll try and put up in the edits. She did an interview with the Breakfast Club, and she's a Trump supporter. But she was actually running... I think she's running for... or governor or vice president. Not Kamala Harris.
Okay.
Not Kamala
I think I know you're talking about.
The black lady.
Yeah.
And she'd been in prison and whatnot. She had come out.
And it was Trump's prison reform
thing that helped her.
Okay,
Yeah. She twisted up the three of them to a level where, like, they were all angry. I've never seen Angela Lee angry. Was there, because she hit them hard with the transgender stuff as well. And then, you know what she was saying? I kind of agree with her in a sense where, we need to stop looking at what the person looks like and how, they would look in that seat, and versus their actual policies. And I know it sounds very stupid because everyone's like, yeah, duh, you should look at the policies. But if I was to ask everyone about, did they look at Obama's policies before voting him in, you wouldn't have voted him in. Obama was the image that they could reuse to infiltrate Africa and build all these new strong economic laws in Africa. Also, keep black people at bay, because again, like J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI, said the biggest threat to America is a, independent thinking Negro.
Mm.
So what we need to understand is that with politics now, it come like the music awards or the MTV awards or Love and Hip Hop. Who's the best character on the show? Right now we've got two characters, and with Trump, what Trump's shown people in the world is that you can actually do what you want when you're in power if you're bold enough to do it. People can say Obama's thing was all white privilege and it was this, it was that, blah blah blah. But at the same time, personally, there was no benefit. You had more black killings more killings of black people by police officers, in America at that time. And then he then even
is that a natural progression of time though? everything increases over time.
It increases over time, but then what did you do about it when it was your turn? So the house could be dirty every week, but if it's your turn to clean it, how did you clean it compared to your brothers or do you see where I'm coming from, your brothers and sisters? And I think with him, he even created a law, the blue lives law or blue something law, where police were even more protected when they had committed some of these heinous crimes against other black people. So,
because I know Obama did put some police reforms in place, especially specifically if we're talking about in Chicago. And it was only when Trump got in power that those were basically taken away. So a lot of people might say, oh, he didn't do this, he didn't do nothing. But there was actually specific things that he did. It's just that it wasn't covered under the quote of for black people, if you get what I mean. But doing a police reform is necessarily more, there's a problem in the policing system, let's fix that, as opposed to it being specific, let's reform it so that less black people are subject to certain things, if you get what I mean.
But why was that specific to Chicago?
Because America's twisted in the way they govern their laws. There's state law and then there's federal law. So I know a lot of the time he might put in place federal laws, but then each state can enforce or enact that law how they want to do it. So that was the whole problem he had with the whole Obamacare and this and that and all of that stuff.
It just come like Trump's just having his way, because Trump is just, you know what's there, like, and I mean, when it comes to black people now, as you know already, we often get told, you know, you need to vote, and there's this emotional connection to voting because they say, oh, our ancestors voted. Our ancestors never died so you can go and vote two lesser evils. Our ancestors died for the fact of voting because at that time, that was what our civil rights was going to get us. Now we're here. And if I'm sitting back and I'm saying, I don't think black people should vote if you haven't got an economic base behind you, period. Because a vote is not going to change your life. I'm what, 31 now, yeah? And I've never grown up in a government that has specifically helped black people. They may have done favors and little trinkets here and there. Youth clubs opened up, or maybe get free school meals for whatever and blah, blah, blah. But essentially, handouts is not going to help our situation. And I'm going to go into the dependency part anyway. But yeah, Vicky, you want to...
Yeah, so I was looking for her name. I couldn't find it.
I want to find it.
Well, when I was... When I thought about this topic of politics and how it serves the black community, I feel as though, like... it's not really made for us, is it? We're kind of just here and participating, but it's not really for us because a lot of people in England and a lot of English people don't believe this is it. You can't sit. That's why I had to clarify with you when you say our country. What are we talking about here? Because I feel like a lot of people feel like this is not my country and I should just be happy that I'm here, happy that I'm allowed to work, happy that I have a roof over my head. We're already put at a level of disadvantage, right? So when it comes to, I do believe when you go, like, let's say higher up in terms of wealth, I think there's not so much of a care about race. I think the care lies heavily.
I found her name. Angela Stanton.
King. Do you know what? I saw that name and I thought I was looking at the wrong person.
No, that's the right way. Yeah. Angela Stanton. Yeah. When you get a chance, watch the interview with Angela Stanton on the Breakfast Club. But yeah, sorry, Vicky, continue.
Then, so like literally, I feel like when it goes higher up in regards to wealth, and you know, and you're looking at people who really kind of make the money moves, because realistically, whoever backs whatever political party, we've got to remember they have a big influence on what they want that person to do and how they want that, what things they want that person to push on, and what things they're maybe some people put money behind it and they don't really care, but most of the times, as in business, if you have a customer who's paying a lot of money, so in regards to politics, that would be, let's say, backing your campaign, they tend to have an influence, they have a say, because if they pull their money 100%. You're running on less, right? So I feel like when it comes to the idea...
But you know that's not common knowledge, though.
No, yeah. It's true, it isn't.
Yeah, but... I mean, it's not common knowledge, but
it's not common knowledge
with the way we've got the internet now and information, like you've got Dr. Claude Anderson, who's been shouting this for years, bro. And I've seen... Sorry to cut you, Vicky, but I've just seen so much of his work. Like, I'm watching footage of him in the 70s.
Yeah.
and it's quite sad because Powernomics book, it was written ages ago.
Fantastic book. Get that book. Everyone read it.
Trust.
It is.
And I feel like you said, it's the whole wanting to be manipulated, because if you don't want to watch, and I'll let you finish, Vicky. I just want to interject quickly. Yeah, if you watch your community, just say you don't even know what Dr. Claude Anderson is doing, you don't even want to know what anyone else is doing. Yeah, as a black person, but you could grow up around Chinese and Indians, Arabs, Turks. We can go into Romanians, Polish, and you look at how they like a Polish man will come here. And within 1 year, like he will come here, have no money. 1 year he's got a job, yeah. Within 2 years, he's got a car wash. Within 3 years, his family's come over here. And within 4 years now, everybody's in position. Do you see where I'm coming from? So the wife may have a job now. They may go for the council housing route, but they've got their own place. Right to buy comes around the corner. Boom. They pay that up. They put a deposit down for that. 2-2s now, the children learn English, but they still keep their Polish culture. Now they've got the car wash. You know, he's now saying to the wife, "Hey, you see your nephew or your brother or your whatever, I've got a job for them." So now they can now work with them if they wanted to underneath the books and get cash in hand, because they would know that they would have to go for that immigration process, which will be a bit more longer for them to get their legal papers and whatnot. But already within 10 years, can you see how that will grow? But anyway, carry on, Vicky. Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to.
Yeah, no. So I was just saying, when it comes to people that are wealthy, I feel like their concern isn't so much race. It's just about how can we keep the poor people poor. Like, they don't want poor people getting rich. And because we are already at a disadvantage because of how, literally just basically starting off how we even came to be here in terms of, like, let's just even start from something that's common, like slave trade. From something like that and into how immigrants are treated, so people that are trying to come into the country, there's consistent disadvantage there, right? So if their interest is to just keep the poor poor, we're not the only ones being kept poor, because we've got people on estates that live, out there that are classed as chavs or whatever. Like, they're getting hit by it too. But we are automatically at that disadvantage because the majority of us are coming in at a disadvantage already. Do you get what I mean? So I feel as though when it comes to politics, they don't serve the black community at all. I think they do show things to serve the black community in terms of getting votes. Because I think there's a belief in, if black people do buy into this person or this idea, you've got a good number of people that are going to vote for you. Like,
yeah. So I think politics is the smokescreen democracy hiding hypocrisy. And the reason why I say that is because they sell and sell and sell to you how it is a genuine democratic functioning system or whatever, and then when you really deep it and look into it, it's far from that. It's just hypocrisy in its fullest, highest state. And I just feel that in terms of our community, we are lied to the most out of any other community, because we are just sold promises as opposed to actually any physical change or anything follow through at all. I mean, you've got my good friend David Lamley, that's been the MP for Tottenham for years now.
You know him, yeah? David Lamley?
No, I don't know him, but he's a good friend because he's a brother out there fighting.
That's it.
The good fight.
See, I like that. I like that.
Do you get what I mean?
Perspective.
And I just feel even someone like him he did the commission police reform thing, gave them 15 things that they could do and whatever. They led, what's it called? David Cameron put him the leader of that, and they didn't do one thing that he recommended, not one. And it's literally all about this whole smokescreen. Let me just give you something to perceive that you can do something with it, but I ain't really gonna do. I'm not gonna follow through it. And the thing is, as a community, you're not even gonna hold me to follow through with it,
right?
Or follow up.
No, you see that there. You see that there. Just you're probably gonna say the same thing I'm gonna say, but if David Lammy had, for example, because it's the mayor of Tottenham, not the mayor of Tottenham, it's the MP of Tottenham, innit?
Yeah.
Let's just say Tottenham had a black community that owned. Let's look at. I'm not really from Tottenham, so I'm trying to remember areas. Let's just say we owned most of our houses. Even if you look at Wood Green, Yeah, I don't know if that covers is the same area or not, but it may be a different area. But let's just say even Tottenham High Road, White Hart Lane, most of the businesses that are owned by Nigerians and Ghanaians and whatnot on there. We had a community where we owned our houses and owned stuff, and we came together and said to David Lammy, look, behind that agenda, we're going to raise 50,000. Told the government we've got 50,000. They refuse it. All right, cool. We're going to try and now bring back 70,000. If we had that economic base behind us, would they have taken us even more seriously? Because I feel like David Lammy is not enough for them to even look at and say, well, you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And it's sad because that's a man that would attempt and try.
And I get what you're saying, and I think that's why sometimes I always remind people that poor is actually a mindset as opposed to a physical hindrance. So in terms of, say, somewhere like Tottenham, in terms of social class, it may be seen as a lower social class area, and the economic income of most people in that area isn't so great. So you wouldn't think that such a community could raise such amount of funds and be able to come come to the table with a standing point and say, boom, we've got this amount of money and we want this and this put through. But I believe the power in group economics, numbers, I feel even if it is just £5 or £10, as long as you've got a certain number of people all rallying together and putting it through, then no matter how poor or whatever a community is, they can have some kind of financial strength.
So
and
do
I
you?
just think, off one of the things you said was about, you know, who are they being held accountable to? Like, the reality is even when, for example, with the lockdown, and then there were issues in China with black people being mistreated there, and the issues with what's happening in America, there is nobody that they have to answer to when they do these things to black people, which is why we are further disadvantaged, because it's like, well, who's coming to save you?
Yeah,
It goes back to our topic of black nationalism, innit?
So it's like, I think in that sense, there's that disadvantage, but also the education gives us a disadvantage, because let's say we go to community schools, because most black people do not want to move to rural areas where you are the only black person in your class, because then you're facing other issues there around racism, discrimination, and it naturally, I don't know anyone that's lived out in the sticks and has not experienced this as a black person. Like, I think most of the people I know that have like moved out and they've been like the minority in their school, they have experienced the form of racism from students, some prejudice from teachers, or that just kind of get over it mentality. But in education, they don't teach it in most of the schools in London. Think about it, politics is not something you have to learn.
Oh yeah, no.
You know,
That's
so
true.
it's
But that's intentional
when
though.
I keep knowledge from you, you're already at a disadvantage because you don't know. Same reason why, in terms of
That's
building
intentional.
wealth, that it's like you have to really go out of your way to find these things out, because they don't want you to find it out. You know.
So do you guys feel that? Well, clearly we know it hasn't served us. Do you guys feel we have to then govern ourselves? Like, and when I mean govern ourselves, I know some people may feel like, you know, you meditate, wake up in the morning and affirmation and whatnot. That's good. I'm talking about govern ourselves, like we start to invest in our own actual security firms to police some of our communities. We start looking at actually providing our own actual welfare system that doesn't cripple us mentally, make us dependent, that actually uprises us and makes us even more, you know, stronger in mindset than what we are right now. Our schooling system, because one thing I would say about the schooling system, and it's an idea I had with Ghana, is when I looked at Africa, especially Ghana, a lot of people said to me, bro, if you want to make change in this country, you're going to have to go through the church, because the church has a very, very big stronghold in Africa, especially in Ghana. Everyone goes to church. Everyone listens to the pastors. The pastors are some of the richest people there. They have a lot of the influence. So if you used to push an agenda, for example, where you said, oh, you know what? Saturday is going to be Black History Day. And Saturday, everyone in, let's just say, the Dancerman area in Accra has to go to this school system. Now, in order to implement that, I would have to probably donate a certain amount of money to the mayor and say, hey, we're going to build a development here. We're going to give you some flats or whatever, blah, blah. Or if I knew a friend that had a development. Do you guys reckon we should do the same things here? Because it does go to black nationalism as what we were saying, and having people accountable. If David Lammy knew that there was someone that he had to be accountable to, that it was going to affect his day-to-day life, would that put more pressure on more leaders? Because I feel like with someone like David Lammy, you know, where was the actual financial backing behind him? Because again, the petition thing for me, I have not. Someone could show me how that works. I don't actually see how that works at all. I mean,
I think in David Lammy's defense,
wrong.
he did all that he could do.
Mm.
He did all that he could do, but unless the actual, I don't know, the Prime Minister's office that controls the commission or whatever, unless they are willing to put forward any of the recommendations that he mentioned or even invest to implement some of them, there's nothing he can do. He has tried to hold them accountable, but he is one man in a house of 360 something MPs that is screaming something and everybody else doesn't care.
Yeah.
so
Did you get, like he's fighting a battle on his own.
it's just like we've got to take the David Lammy out of the courthouse or the parliament and use that David Lammy example. I'm just using him as an example. I'm not, you know.
You know what? It comes to there was a thing that I was speaking about in terms of how, let's say you've got the Ku Klux Klan, yeah, that's a business, yeah. You got the big Grand Dragon or whatever, and a lot of people want this whole representation thing in businesses, whereby if we put a black person at the CEO or big corporate thing, then somehow that person is now going to help our community and do things.
Yeah.
But you got to understand that every organization and structure is intentionally has their certain ways of doing things in terms of rules, regulations, functions, this, that. So no matter who's leading it, their foundations and their core is always fundamentally going to come through. If you get what I mean. So I just feel like us thinking that getting an MP in a system that doesn't generally want to help or support these lower communities is never going to work.
Yeah.
And it comes back to what you were saying. We actually need to do for ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to function as a group ourselves and implement things. And then what you'll find is, as we start to grow, these external organizations or factors will now start to listen. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because we are coming to the table as a power. Like, I'm going off a bit here, but just the whole reparations arguments, you know, people say, oh yeah, we should get reparations, blah, blah, blah. And then you hear about Japan, they asked for reparations for their people that were killed or whatever in America and stuff like that. And America said no. You don't come to a table asking with nothing. Japan, what they did is they went, build their economy. They were one of the fastest technology economies, blah, blah, blah. And then they came back and said, boom, we want our reparations or you're not going to have access to all that we've built, strong, whatever, and stuff like that. And then they got paid. They got paid their money.
Yeah.
Same with the
thing, I
Jews,
do
same with all these other communities.
And that's the thing is, I do think it starts from back home. And when I say back home, I guess some black people can say the Caribbean if they want, that's their home. But I do think a lot of it starts with Africa. There's a lot of wealth in Africa. And if realistically, can you imagine having Africa as a backing with all the wealth belonging to Africa, as in Africa saying, you're not getting these goods unless we get X, Y, Z and the other. It would put us in so much of a powerful position that I genuinely believe they're going to make it very difficult for that to ever happen.
And I think they're fully aware of that. And that's why Africa's, I feel, it's a hard subject to say that, because there's so many systems and stuff they've put in place so that we don't work for ourselves or do stuff. You get what I mean? In terms of, like, if you think about all the Francophone countries, all the countries that were French colonies, France has been influencing every coup that has ever happened there because you've had Patrice Lumumba proper. There's been leaders in Africa that have wanted to do good, but they get taken out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like they're going to make it very difficult for it to happen because they understand what's at stake.
Then we got to fight. We got to have, like, I've never, I don't know if you guys have seen The Spook Who Sat by the Door. It's an old movie, 1970s, I think, probably. Maybe even a bit earlier or maybe even older. But anyway, my man is a black guy. He goes to work for the CIA and basically, you know, becomes an agent. Now, he learns everything he learns from the CIA, implements it in, obviously, the civil rights stuff that are going on in America, to a point where the CIA thought it was the Russians that were doing all these different things. Not knowing that it was this one guy, this black guy who learned everything from them. And my thing is this: if we're going to be doing these things, like you're saying, going back to Africa, we've got to have things like our own intelligence system. We've got to have our own actual, system that can actually report on certain things and keep out and cover our backs.
Yeah.
Again, back to, with religion, we can't go there expecting, a God to protect us and whatnot. God's given you a brain and 2 hands and your own actual body and mind to think and do for yourself. So I feel like also we've got to have a constructed plan that's sometimes not even said in certain groups. Like your mum shouldn't even know your plan because your mum may be your biggest, worst enemy. No one's there, fam, because they may not understand the magnitude of what you've got to do. So they're so fearful of it. Oh, I don't want you to go back to Ghana and get involved in politics. They're going to kill you. Then you keep hearing that, oh, so-and-so's going to kill you. It's like, all right, cool.
Well, though, to be honest, can I just quickly say, I don't actually think we even need to go back to Africa to have some form of influence there. I don't think that needs to happen. I think we need to be smart about it and drain money from this economy, from where we're working here, and be sending that back home. Because I think that was the initial idea of people that migrated here was, I'm going to work to feed my family. But if we broaden that view to, I'm going to work to feed my family, who's going to work with the community, who also have other people out here feeding their families to build, then I feel like there would be,
and that's the ideology that I've been trying to push in terms of, as a diaspora outside of Africa, it's us that are going to properly help and save Africa in terms of how we get in all these resources and bringing them back.
Because we would, going back home, just basic things like you're seeing a certain amount of bauxite that's being exported from Ghana, and you're like, hold on, how much percentage is this company getting? This French company or this African company, this British company or whatnot? No. That bauxite has been used for what? They're saying it's going to be used for this amount of money or this amount of stuff in London. When we're in London, we're like, no, this don't get used in this amount. This is a lie. We can go there and negotiate better terms. We can also leverage that understanding that we already know already what they want over in Britain. So if it's things like, for example, I remember telling my cousin about, moringa, and she was just like, why do you like getting this leaf, this green leaf? You love, you cussing me because I'm plant-based and whatever. I just said to her, you see this moringa over here? If you was to grind it down and make even just maybe, I don't know, just say 500 grams of this, in Whole Foods, they sell that for like £12.
Yeah.
See where I'm coming from? So if you lot start to understand that, hey, there's bare independent small markets that will buy moringa in bulk, and you can dry it. And just to say, for example, I gave this idea to you, and you was the distributor that actually collected these stuff from all these Ghanaian people that had. Cause remember, moringa grows like how oak trees grow here. You know, ones there like how we see grass. So if they was to take that and say, "Rah, you know what? You can even start off so small where I'm gonna phone this auntie and that auntie to take that back in their suitcase, whatever. You pay for the extra luggage. You come back now, and basically when you come back, you get to a point where you get to London. There's someone like me there that comes and says, right, I want to, put in this, get a team together, bag it up and whatever. I'll go to Lewisham Market, go to Deptford Market, go to this market, that independent store. Before you know it, you would have your own small business. And I feel like you said, there needs to be branches. I feel like we need to have an understanding, obviously, of how to do it in the UK as well. Like you said, drain the money. So,
And that's the thing. That's where they get people, though, because you have to have capital. If you're only making enough money to literally run your household until the next month, you don't have that capital. Also, this notion that is sold to everyone that, you go to school, go uni, get a job, get married, buy a house, get married. Like, they're tying your money up in selling you that this is how your life should be running. And they're tying your money up for a long time. Like, a mortgage is it's not easily affordable for everybody. So there's saving a deposit. Then there's, actually paying and making sure you're able to meet those bills. And then there's the fears around what happens if I can't meet these month's bills. And that's where a lot of people will die on their ideas, because they're not going to do it. They're just going to play safe, and they're going to be like, no, I've got kids, I've got family to take care of. Because
again, they're going from that narrative, like you said, our parents came with, where it was, I'm trying to build for my family. Really, who is your family?
But the difference was, at least their parents were building for family back home.
That's
what
true.
was happening there. Because I've literally had experiences of, like, in my own family where there've been a business set up back home and the purpose has been to grow the business, and this family member has not grown the business, they're sitting there and they're comfortable. They're making sure them and their family are okay, and that's it. And it's that mentality that has to change. If people stop, like, do you get what I mean? I think everyone thinks on quite a narrow, smaller picture context. You know, everyone just looks at what they can see rather than the actual bigger picture.
I feel like what you're saying is true. I feel like the holiday experience for us shouldn't just be like, I hate when I see people, it's just my opinion, I hate when I see people going back to Africa and trying to treat it like it's Napa or Ibiza or Miami, where they just go and party and drink. I'm just thinking, right, like, bro,
I'm guilty of that.
I was gonna say, don't judge me.
I go back there.
Listen,
I'm gonna turn up.
I'm guilty of that as well. I'm not gonna front. But then the next day I might go to my mum's land and say, right, what needs to be done now? Because obviously I'm here. You know, one's there like, and I'm not trying to, that's why I love Ghana Escapes, you know, big up Harm K when it comes to Ghana Escapes, because that's a mixture of you partying and whatever, but you're also learning about the culture and opportunities and how to invest in Ghana. And I feel like with that as well, there's a lot of, if there was something that where we just say, right, for a year we're not going to go to any other European countries but our own, and just see what small things we can do. I feel like that mindset needs to be taught to the Africans as well. So when we are sending money and we are, you know, trying to build these extra, you know, legs of economics, it stands firm. You know, one's there like.
And I think I like what you're saying, definitely, and I think there's normal day-to-day realistic things that I think kind of escape those kind of things actually happening. So in terms of, as much as you might say, yeah, instead of going Europe or whatever, let's go Africa, the price tickets difference to go Africa and Europe is massive. And in terms of business infrastructure, Europe has developed a way whereby I can go to Holland for £20. Do you get what I mean? And then come back and do this and do that.
Yeah, but if we go off-peak seasons, if you go like...
Even if you go off-peak to Africa, you're, what's, £200? Like, if you're sub-Saharan, if we're talking?
Yeah.
Minimum. Off-peak.
And then there's also knowing who to ask these questions to when you get there.
Yes.
You know, see what it is? There is, sorry to cut you, there is actual... Like, I can't speak for, like, obviously Uganda and other places, but I know in Gambia, there's institutions like...
Uganda has Gambia has a big British tourism system there, though.
Now it does. Now it does. It never used to be like that.
Because they're pumping money into that government, and that's why he's doing everything they're saying.
Right.
So then again, they still, as much as it can look like maybe progress is being made, it isn't, because who is still kind of who's calling the shots?
But if we get there first, remember, let's just say, for example, there's 100,000 of us over the course of 6 years that went back as UK diasporans back to Gambia, Ghana, and Uganda. And out of that 100,000, there's about, 3 properties between each person, 1 business between each family. When it comes to kicking us out or trying to get rid of us, it's going to be very difficult, especially us knowing how the British government works.
But you've got to remember, sorry, just to cut in quickly, you've got to remember, like, even... So I'm just using Uganda for example, right? Oil's been found. That land has been bought up. If I wanted to go back home and be like, I want to buy there. Firstly, the price is high, right? Higher than anywhere else in Uganda. Secondly, these people already know what's there, so they're not going to sell none of their land to you because they've bought there for a reason.
Cool.
Do you know what I mean? So there's already blocks in the way. So it is about going, and you do really have to. I think obviously when I say, the reason why I said I don't feel like we have to go back home to make it work and to make it happen is because what we're going to be doing is jumping onto something, and we're going to try really learn the economy. And that's not to say that shouldn't happen, but I just think it shouldn't be the first thing to happen, because what we've got an advantage of is we understand life here and we understand this economy, right? As long as if you can connect with somebody that's back home that also is trustworthy and understands that economy, you can get things moving a lot quicker than you trying to be the one to go back and now figure it out.
100%. I feel like it would definitely have to be a divided effort. So it would have to be, like, if it could just be a rotation. So say 3 of us, for example, we picked Uganda, and it was, you went in January and your own thing was just to network. That's all you were supposed to do. find the right channels. Mo was going to help raise the money. His job was to go there and make sure it goes into the right hands and the right banks, so it's accessible to the right people. And then my job could be just to oversee the operation to make sure that, even with the three of us, if we did that on a house or a car wash, you see where I'm coming from, that could work. And one thing I learned about Africa as well, especially in Ghana, you can go there with an idea and it may not work. You see your problem, that could be your new entrepreneurial idea.
Yeah.
You see where I'm coming from?
Listen, yeah.
Because
your niche market,
the
basically.
niche, right? So my uncle may build a house and realize that, you know what? For the house, the size of the house he needs, he might need a well, because he's not trying to, you know, buy the poly tanks and buy water. So he's gonna dig in the ground. That might cost him $1,000 or $2,000. But he also might realize that, hey, the community he lives in right now don't have that much of a big of a water supply. So you know what? I'm gonna sell water to the shops. By selling water to the shops, he may also look at it and think, you know what? I see enough men driving here in their cars, but they're washing their cars themselves outside their job before they go into work. Why not just start a car wash? I've got a well already. Do you see where I'm coming from? So before you know it, a slow effort, because we did it in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the African American states. We've done it all over a lot of these places. The blueprint, I feel, is there. I just feel like the action, action is being taken.
Yeah.
There is small individuals that are doing it now. I think that's what we need to do. We just need to group with those small individuals, because once we do that, then it will make more sense. Because I feel like with the politics way, again, even now, like we've gone into economics because we realize the politics way doesn't really help. It doesn't really work. Doesn't really serve us. So,
I mean, just to jump in terms of the politics side, I do say one thing that our community needs to get over is that in politics we need to not be deceived by the personality thing. Because I think I think I had a whole big argument with someone because they were against voting for Conservative just simply because it's Boris Johnson or whatever. And even someone else I spoke to in America, like they wouldn't go and sit down and talk to Trump. And I just feel people need to get over themselves personally and just think that politics is a business transaction. And when it comes to business, you will actually do business with anyone provided it benefits you.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think that's how you need to see politics is you will work with who you have to work with provided you benefit from it.
That's true. And I do think that is the reason why we've got into economics and the business side of things is because that's what drives politics. That's realistically what's going on behind closed doors. It is all politics. It's all about finances. It's all about who's got the most wealth. And then they run it as a business. And I think politics is just there to kind of, I feel like they're just there to repeat and parrot back what the people above them have said they want, or, you know, the direction they're trying to take the economy in or the world in, or
they're funded by the world banks, the big world banks like the Bilderberg and Rothschilds and whatnot. So they need to have a show where people can be entertained of what's really going on, when really and truly that's not what's really going on. You know, even with this whole COVID thing, if you look at it right now, from March, I feel like the government's acted like they don't know what they're doing, because now what they have done is pushed in so much tough laws. Like even if you look at London itself in terms of navigating through London, they've made it difficult. As a driver, they've closed off Vauxhall Bridge. Congestion charges now from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week.
These are all influenced by financial things, though.
Right. And if you look at most of the contracts that are given from these PPE, all these companies that set up, the data and whatnot for COVID, these are all people that are run in the Conservative Party. And obviously, when we're looking at their mindset of what they want to achieve, they're using COVID as an scapegoat to really push forward all of their tough rules and regulations.
But isn't that just capitalism, though?
No,
as in you see a problem and you find out how you can capitalize from it.
You could say that, but then at the same time, capitalism also filled with, like you said, deception, lies and deceit, because they're using serious the whole eco-friendly environment. We're killing the environment, but hey, congestion charge has to be £15 now, and it's going to be, and you didn't even do it after, you did it during COVID. Yeah,
but so in terms of the congestion charge thing, Sadiq Khan, he's the mayor of London. In his defense, it's like his arm was twisted and TfL have basically lost so much money. How are we going to recoup some of that money back? And one of the ideas is, let's just increase congestion charge. Let's make it 7 days a week. I think there were certain cars that used to be exempt from it that aren't anymore now and stuff like that. And I think what people need to understand is how things work in it. If you're going to have an economy dishing out money, paying furlough, paying all of this, and you hear this £1 billion budget kitty or whatever, people need to understand nothing comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
100%. But then at the same time, at what expense? Because you can't then say, as a mayor, that you're there to help the people, when really and truly you're adding
But that's
more financial
politics.
strain.
That is
No, but you know what it
politics.
is,
Right.
yeah, because it's not like it's different to, for example, if you're helping a
wrap up
family
soon as
member
well.
and somebody says, "Oh, can you lend me, let's say, £1,000? I need £1,000 just for this month," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm probably not going to charge you interest on it." Do you get what I mean? But if it's a stranger, I'm like, give me an incentive as to why I want to give you £1,000, and I feel like that's how politics operate when it comes to money.
So it's really
So it's like we can support you in this way,
so
but it is going to come at a cost.
no, exactly. And like
But then isn't that a community problem though? Why is it my fault to be? I feel it's my fault to be expecting something to happen for nothing.
Yeah.
I should be willing to give up something for this to happen.
I don't think even to be willing, but I think it's just for people to know that it's what you said. People need to know that it's going to come at a cost. They need to understand how that works.
100%. It's going to come at a cost. So what it just basically sums up really is that politics is not really for us at all, and it hasn't really served us in a slightest way. All right, cool, civil rights. You know, we're able to vote right now, whatever. But
I do want to touch on the voting thing though.
yeah, you're gonna have to wrap up.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Literally 5 minutes.
All right.
Yeah. So if you wanna do it, do it.
Yeah, I'll do it quick. I'll just say, in terms of politics and voting, a big pet peeve I have is that we have to vote. Nobody has to do anything. I feel if you're going to do something, understand how it works first and then make a decision from there and make it benefit you. Understand how it works and then make it work for you. So with the whole voting thing, honestly, it is nonsense. This whole first past proposed system that we have in place right now, it's never going to work. It is literally done by marginal seats. If you live in an area that is always going to be conservative, it has done for years, blah, 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 you voting is not going to do a thing. Zero. And number two, I just feel voting is the laziest option that people that want change can do. If you really want change, voting is the most easiest, simplest thing. You just go in there, mark a thing, and then that's it. But are you actually going to put in the work to do certain community things or make these changes and stuff like that? So,
same thing.
yeah, I just feel politics is for lazy people, honestly, personally. And I feel if you really want big change or whatever, as our community do, we need to work together, group economics, and do stuff ourselves.